So let's take a look at your nucleotidases. And so of course your nucleotidases, and so it will break down, it will hydrolyze your nucleotides. Okay, and so it will hydrolyze your nucleotides to produce your phosphate, your phosphoric acid, and your nucleosides. And so you have there what are the components of your nucleosides? You have your sugar and your nitrogenous bases. Again, your nucleotidases will break down your nucleotides to produce your phosphate, your phosphoric acid, and your nucleosides. Okay? Your nucleosidases. Okay, and so your nucleosidases, if you have your nucleotidases that will break down your nucleotides to produce your phosphoric acid and your nucleosides, and so you have your nucleosidases as they are enzymes that will break down your nucleosides to produce your sugar and your nitrogenous bases. In case of this, in case of you have your deoxyribose, deoxyribonucleic acid and your ribonucleic acid for your nucleosides, and so it will read your sugar. You have your ribose and your deoxyribose plus your nitrogenous bases. Of course, you have here your purine nucleosides and your pyrimidine nucleosides. And so of course your this purine and your purine and your pyrimidine nucleosides are broken down, are hydrolyzed by your purine nucleosidases and your pyrimidine nucleosidases respectively. Okay? And so your bile, and so your human bile is a clear golden yellow, slightly viscous fluid with a bitter taste and a pH of 7 to 8.5. And so that is alkaline. Okay? And so it is secreted by the liver cells to an amount of 500 to 700 ml in 24 hours. Okay, and so accordingly, and so it has a solid content of around 1 to 4%. And so around 1 to 4%. In this one, your 1 to 4% solid content, this one is true of your liver bile. Okay, and so you have here, they are stored in the gallbladder. And so where they undergo concentration. Okay, and so you have here, as you see, you have an increase your concentration, an increase in the solid contents at 4 to 17%, and so in your gallbladder. Okay, and so you have here your what you call this, your bile is secreted continuously by the liver and stored in the gallbladder with where it undergoes concentration. Okay, and so it is discharged into the bowel during your digestion by the relaxation of your sphincter of OD. Okay. And so let's take a look at your solid contents of your bile. And so of that solid contents, you have it as three-fourths of that are actually organic. And the rest, of course, the one-third are your inorganic components. Okay, and so for your organic, and so you have there your bile acids, you have there your cholic acid, your chenodeoxycholic acid, and your deoxycholic acid accordingly. And then your bile pigments, you have there your bilirubin and your biliverdin. And then your cholesterol, together with your mucin, your urea, your alka-phos, your alkaline phosphatase, and then small amount of your phospholipids in the form of your lecithin. And then for your inorganic constituents, of course, you have there your bicarbonate, your chloride, your sodium, and your potassium accordingly. So let's take a look at your what you call this comparison between your liver bile and your gallbladder bile. Again, ayan, so your gallbladder, ayan, so that is the storage of your, that is the organ that stores your bile and also responsible for increasing the concentration of your bile. While your liver, that is the organ that secretes, that produces and secretes your bile. Okay, ayan, so let's take a look at the point of comparison here. And so you have your solids, you have your what you call this, a lesser amount in your in your liver. You have it at 1 to 4% solids present in your liver, comparing it to 4 to 17% solids present in your gallbladder bile. Okay, and so your liver bile having a lesser what you call this solid components, it is less viscous, and then your gallbladder, that is more viscous. Okay, and so your liver bile that is golden yellow, and your gallbladder bile is dark yellow green. And so actually this one is the color will depend upon the oxidation of your biliverdin, if you or your bilirubin, sorry. And so that is your dark yellow green color here will depend upon the extent of the oxidation of your bilirubin to your biliverdin. And then let's take a look at the pH still. And so you have your liver bile that is 7 to 8.5. That is relatively, sorry, that is alkaline. And then your gallbladder bile, you have a pH of 5.5. And so you have a pH of 5.5 still. This one is what we call this pH is attributed to what we call this also the oxidation of your bilirubin to your biliverdin. Okay, and so in your liver bile, and so you have what we call this less concentrated, and in your gallbladder bile that is more concentrated. Ayan, so more viscous, ayan, so darker in color, and it has a pH of what we call this 5.5, or that is acidic. Ayan, so your gallbladder bile is acidic. Okay, is for your bile, okay? And so you have your cholecystokinin, and so you have your cholecystokinin here. This is a hormone that stimulates the discharge of bile into the intestines. And so this is a hormone that stimulates the discharge of bile into the intestines. And so actually, your cholecystokinin here is a hormone that is produced and secreted from the intestinal mucosa, or that probably that is from the duodenum. Ayan, so that is from your duodenal mucosa. Okay, and so okay, and so for that, this cholecystokinin, and so will cause the relaxation of your sphincter of your OD. And so this sphincter of OD here is a complex sphincter closing the duodenal orifice of your common bile duct accordingly. And so that is for your cholecystokinin. And so it will stimulate the discharge of your bile into your intestines via your relaxation of your sphincter of your OD to open the one accordingly. And then you have your cholagogues. Ayan, so your cholagogues, these are substances that stimulate your flow of bile. Okay, and so these are substances that that will stimulate your flow of bile accordingly. And so moving on, look at your bile acids. Okay, and so your bile acids, your human bile contains the three types of your bile acids. You have your cholic acid, that is your, and then your cannodeoxycholic acid, and then your deoxycholic acid. Of course, please note of the corresponding relative amounts of those. Okay, and so your bile acids are conjugated with glycine or taurine, forming your glycocholic or your taurocholic acid. Okay, and so your conjugation, and so the conjugation is apparently by peptide linkage, which could be split by hydrolysis. Okay, and so the total daily excretion of your bile acids is at 5 to 10 grams accordingly. And so you have a total daily excretion is at 5 to 10 grams. Okay, and so they are absorbed in the intestines into the portal circulation, your bile acids. Okay, and so they are taken up by the liver and excreted into the bile. Accordingly, a small amount of what we call this 0.2 to 3 milligrams per ml pass into the systemic circulation. Okay, and so that is for your bile. Cholic acid. Okay, and so let's take a look at the function of these bile acids. Okay, and so for your emulsification, and so it lowers your what you call this surface tension and disperses and what you call this, and so it your emulsification probably over of your fats here, and so it will lower your surface tension and will disperse to what you call this disperse in an emulsion to what you call this increase the surface area. Okay, and so for that it will enhance your digestion of your fats. Okay, and then you have here your it will activate your stepsin, and so this is an enzyme, and so your stepsin is an enzyme. Okay, and so it will activate your stepsin, and so this stepsin is an enzyme that will act on your lipids or your fats, or probably this is otherwise known as your lipase. And then your what you call this, your bile acid is also a choleratic. Ayan, so choleratic, and so they are choleratic for that. what is your choleretics, and so they stimulate the secretion of your bile by your liver, and so they stimulate the secretion of your bile, and then they neutralize what they call this neutralization of your acids, and so they neutralize your what they call this the acid chyme from the stomach and prepares it for digestion in the intestines. And so they neutralize your acid chyme, probably this one, your chyme that is a mixture of your what you call this, your partially digested food and your gastric acid. Remember that your gastric acid is acidic due to the presence of your hydrochloric acid. For that, they needed to be neutralized. And so that is an action of your bile acids. Okay, and then of course you have your hydrotropic effect. And so we aid in the help in the absorption of fats and fat soluble substances by forming a water soluble complex. Okay, and so they form a water soluble complex, and then of course you have a accordingly they maintain a what we call this cholesterol in a solution. And so your bile acids will maintain your cholesterol in a solution. Okay, and so that is those are actually your functions of your bile acids. Okay, your bile pigments. And so your bile pigments are actually derived from the degradation of hemoglobin. And so this one is initiated by the breakdown of your erythrocytes at the end of their normal lifespan. And so probably that is at 120 days. And so of course the first step is of course your destruction of your hemoglobin. And so that is destruction, liberation from the destruction of hemoglobin in the reticuloendothelial system or your in your MPS. And so that is actually in the destruction of your hemoglobin, and so thereby opening of your porphyrin ring between your pyrrole residues 1 and 2, and elimination actually of your alpha methylene carbon. And so for that, okay, and so you have there after the removal of your iron, and so this one actually, and so after the removal of your iron and of course the cleavage of your porphyrin ring, biliverdin is formed actually, and so your biliverdin is formed again. And so after the removal of iron and cleavage of porphyrin ring, biliverdin is formed. Okay, and so this one, the a detailed discussion of your bilirubin metabolism is will be actually discussed in your clinical chemistry. Okay, and so after the removal of iron and cleavage of your porphyrin ring, and so biliverdin is formed. And so this biliverdin is reduced to your bilirubin, catalyzed by your enzyme bilirubin reductase. Okay, and so your bilirubin, which is relatively water insoluble, is released from the reticuloendothelial system into the plasma, where it is bound to plasma proteins. And so probably mostly of it are albumin. Okay, are albumin. And so it will be carried, and so your bilirubin is carried into the liver, and so once into the liver, the protein, your albumin is separated. Okay, and so the albumin is separated, and then of course the bilirubin will undergo conjugation, and so catalyzed by the enzyme uridine diphosphate glucuronyl transferase in the liver. Okay, and so you have there of course, and so after conjugation of course your liver, and so it will be discharged into your what they call this the what they call this the bile pigment. The bilirubin is discharged into your bile, and that bile in the bile, and so it will be discharged into your intestinal tract and then further be degraded by your normal flora of your intestines. Okay, and so let's take a look at your chemical changes in your large intestines. Of course, and so after and so thorough digestion, and so ayan, your food is already digested and the nutrients are absorbed, and so of course the semi-liquid residue which has escaped both your processes are actually passed into the large intestines. Okay, and so in the large intestines there are no enzymes to act on them except those which are brought down from your small intestines, those that were carried away. No, and so only a very small amount of viscous, slightly alkaline fluid containing large amount of mucin is actually contributed by the mucosal cells of your colon. Okay, and so in what you call this. However, in your large intestines, accordingly, there are normal intestinal microorganisms. And so you have your normal flora, which will disintegrate these organic residues into your simple fragments. Accordingly, some of the what you call these products of the actions of these microorganisms are potentially harmful, like your amines and your phenols, accordingly, and others are beneficial. Okay, and so like your vitamins. Okay, and so like your vitamins. Okay, and then of course also the oxidation of your stercobilinogen to your stercobilin. Okay, and so they are produced through the metabolic activity again of your bacteria, involving processes like ayan, so you have your normal flora present in your small intestines that will what they call this act on what they call the uh act on these residues. Okay, and so via the processes like your oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis, deamination, and decarboxylation. Okay. Let's take a look at your fermentation. And so your fermentation here, this is by the action of your bacteria. And so this is your degradation of your carbohydrates by your bacteria under your anaerobic condition. And so that is anaerobic. And so on the absence, sorry, of your air. Okay, and so probably you have your products of your fermentation. You have your organic acids like your lactic acid, your acetic acid, your formic acid, and your the rest. And then of course your gases, you have your methane, your carbon dioxide, and your hydrogen. Okay, then you have here your putrefaction. And so your putrefaction here is your the action of your bacteria decomposing your proteins. And so again, this one is under your anaerobic condition in the absence of air, probably in the absence of oxygen. Okay, your putrefaction, your bacterial decomposition of your proteins. Okay, and so your aromatic amino acids are transformed into your phenol, your cresol, your indole, and your iscatol for this. Okay, and so examples for this one, you have your tryptophan, your amino acid tryptophan is converted into your indole and iscatol accordingly. Okay. So let's take a look at your deamination. Ayan, so your deamination here, that is the removal of your amine group. And so from your simple amino acids to form short chain organic acids. Okay, and so this is actually being removed. And so your functional group NH2 is being removed in your deamination. Okay, and so let's take a look at your tryptophan. And so your tryptophan is an example of your what you call this is an amino acid that has your amine group. Ayan, so this one, your tryptophan can undergo the amination to your indole propionic acid. Again, ayan, so your tryptophan can undergo the amination to indole propionic acid. And then, ayan, so to indole acetic acid. And finally, to your indole and iscatol. Ayan, so your indole and iscatol here, ayan, so they are the, what you call this, responsible for the characteristic odor of the feces, no? Ayan, so your indole and iscatol, they are responsible for the characteristic foul odor of your feces. And so this indole and iscatol, when large amounts of indole and iscatol are produced, and so they can be toxic. And so they can be toxic. Okay. Your decarboxylation. And so that is the removal of your carboxyl groups. And so your carboxyl groups. And so that is the removal of your carboxyl groups for this. Okay, and so your decarboxylation. And so your tyrosine, and so when your tyrosine is what we call this, in your decarboxylation of your tyrosine, and so it will yield your what we call this, your uh cresol, sorry. And so your tyrosine, both your deamination and your decarboxylation of your tyrosine will form your cresol. And so if the carboxylation alone, and so it will yield your tyrosine. And so if the decarboxylation alone of your tyrosine will yield your tyramine. And so it will yield your tyramine, that is actually accordingly a vasoconstrictor. And so that is a vasoconstrictor. constrictor. Okay, and so and your decarboxylation of your tryptophan, and so will produce your tryptamine that will increase your tryptamine. Here is an agent that will increase your blood pressure. Okay, and then of course your decarboxylation of your histidine, your lysine, and your arginine will produce your histamine, cadaverine, potricine, and your sorry, and those and so your decarboxylation of your histidine, your lysine, and your arginine will produce your histamine, your cadaverine, and your potricine. And so your histamine here, this is a potent vasodilator. And then your cadaverine and your potricine, and so they are believed to cause your food poisoning. And so thereby causing your auto intoxication for this. Okay, and so that is for your decarboxylation. And so the removal of your carboxyl group in your what you call this amino. Okay, and so you have your detoxification. Okay, and so your detoxification accordingly is it includes all or the what you call this your detoxification includes all processes by which noxious substances are rendered less harmful or more easily excreted. Okay, and so the products actually of your putrefaction absorbed from the colon. You have your your drugs and even some components of food are detoxicated in the liver and to some extent in your kidneys. Again, and so please keep in mind that you have your what they call this your liver as the major organ of detoxification. Okay, and so the desirable effects are brought about by mechanisms which the body ordinarily uses in its normal metabolic processes. Okay, and so your detoxification systems accordingly operate against toxic substances again, and so of whatever nature and whatever mode of administration. And so you have there. And so your detoxification includes your oxidation, your reduction, your hydrolysis, your conjugation, and others. Okay, and so for your oxidation here, and so this one is the most important means of detoxification accordingly. And so that is the most important. Of course, your oxidation, of course, by addition of your oxygen. Okay, and so again, that is your most important. Okay, and so some substances accordingly even actually those substances detoxified by conjugation may undergo some form of oxidation accordingly. And so that is for your oxidation. And then you have your reduction. And so your reduction, and so it has a relatively minor role in detoxification. And then your hydrolysis, and so you have here some drugs accordingly used for therapy are hydrolyzed in the body. And so let's say, for example, here your acetyl salicylic acid, your ASAs, are what you call this hydrolyzed to produce your salicylic acid and your acetic acid. Okay. And then your conjugation. And so conjugation, that is your combination of your toxic substances or one of its metabolites with a compound occurring normally in the body. And so this one is done whenever your oxidation becomes ineffective. Okay, and so your conjugation probably occurs mainly in your liver. And so this one. Okay, and so let's take a look at your conjugating agents. Again, your conjugation happens in your liver accordingly. And so acetic acid, you have your acetic acid as your conjugating agent. This one is responsible in your acetylation of your hydroxyl group. Okay, and so but then for your detoxification processes purposes, your acetylation only seems to involve the amino group. Okay, and so the amino group. And then for your cysteine, and so your cysteine involved in detoxification process at a slight extent. And so in this type of your conjugation, the S group of your cysteine is conjugated to a nuclear carbon atom. And then you have your glucuronic acid as the most commonly used conjugating agent for detoxification in man. Okay, and so accordingly, it forms two varieties. You have there your ether and your ester linkage. Okay, and so you have there your ether and ester linkage under your glucuronic acid. And then you have your glutamine. And so your glutamine, and so is conjugated with your phenyl acetic acid, forming your phenyl acetyl glutamine. And then your glycine, and so your glycine conjugates with certain aromatic acids to form aryl glycine compounds. And then you have your methylation by your methyl group. Ayan, so accordingly, in this kind of your detoxification, the reaction is limited only to the N atom of compounds of your pyridine and your quinoline types. Again, that is for your limited only to the N atom. And then you have your sulfuric acid accordingly. And so in your sulfuric acid, your phenolic hydroxyl interacts with sulfuric acid to form esters, okay, or your ethereal sulfates. And then, of course, you have finally your thiosulfate, and so involved in the conversion of your cyanide into a non-toxic thiocyanate that is catalyzed by your enzyme rhodanase. Okay, and so that is for your digestion.